Quick question. Have you checked your Social Security statement lately? Because if you're like most folks who rely on that check to make ends meet, especially now with everything costing more, then what's happening this month could really catch you off guard. There's a big change coming out of Washington, and I don't mean a small policy tweak. I'm talking about something that could hit your wallet directly. Starting this June, under new rules from President Donald Trump's administration, up to 2 million people could see their Social Security checks reduced. And no, this isn't some distant future issue. We're talking right now, June, this month, and it's mostly happening to folks who already don't have much to spare. Now, why is this happening? Two main reasons. One involves student loan debt. The other has to do with something called overpayments. Both sound a little technical, but don't worry. I'll break it down in plain English so you can see exactly how this affects you or someone you know. Let's start with the first group that's being hit. People who are behind on federal student loans. Yeah, even if you're over 60. Actually, especially if you're over 60. You see, over 450,000 Americans aged 62 and older are currently in default on student loans. That means they haven't made payments in a while, and the government is treating the debt as seriously overdue. Now, here's what's important. During the pandemic, these folks were protected. No money was being taken from their Social Security checks to cover student loans. But that protection ended in May, and now in June, the collections are back, loud and clear. So here's how this works. The federal government uses something called the Treasury Offset Program. Under that program, they can legally take up to 15% of your Social Security check if you're in default on a federal student loan. Let that sink in. If you get the average Social Security check, about $1,976 a month, that's almost $300 gone. Every month, automatically. Now imagine if you're not getting the average. Maybe you're getting $1,200 or less each month. For many folks, especially people who retired early or didn't have high-paying jobs, that's not unusual. If they take 15% of that, you're looking at $180 or more disappearing from your check every month. That could be your groceries, gas, or prescription medication right there. Here's something else you might not know. They don't need you to agree to this. You'll get a warning letter 30 days before the garnishment starts. Just 30 days. That's it. Before the pandemic, they gave 65 days notice. But now, the timeline is shorter and the pressure is higher. They will leave you with at least $750. That's the minimum. But let's be honest, $750 a month isn't exactly livable in today's economy. Rent alone can eat up most or all of that in many cities. So even though they technically can't take everything, what's left might not be enough to get by. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, well, I didn't go to college or I never took out loans, you still might want to stick around. Because the second part of this is just as serious. And this time, it could apply even if you've never had student debt. It's called a clawback. Basically, that's when the Social Security Administration says they paid you too much in the past. Maybe it was a mistake, or maybe your income changed and didn't get updated fast enough, and now they want that money back. Sometimes it's due to a delay in reporting, other times it's on their end entirely. But either way, they've decided you owe it, and now they're coming for it. As of now, over 1.5 million Americans are facing this exact issue. That's retirees, disabled workers, even surviving spouses. People who rely on their monthly benefits to keep the lights on. And in many cases, they're not just taking a little back. They can withhold up to 50% of your check until it's repaid. Let me say that again. Half your monthly Social Security payment. Gone. Just pausing for a moment to share something that could really help you or someone you care about. If you're 65 or older, or helping someone who is, you probably know how overwhelming Medicare can feel. The mailers, the endless calls, all claiming they have the best plan. It's exhausting. When my team and I were looking into this, we came across Chapter, and what stood out wasn't just that they compare all 24,000 plus plans. It was their story. The founders built Chapter after their own parents got stuck in the wrong Medicare plans, and they realized just how many people were being misled or pressured into making choices that weren't right for them. That's what makes Chapter different. Their advisors aren't paid to push one plan over another. They're salaried, independent, and genuinely there to help you. You'll speak with a real person who takes the time to understand your doctors, prescriptions, and preferences and helps you make a decision you feel good about. And the call is totally free. No pressure, no gimmicks, just honest support. If you're already in the right plan, they'll tell you. And if not, they'll help you find one that better fits your needs. If you want to talk to someone today, give Chapter a call at 615-639-1937 or visit askchapter.org/money. Again, that's 615-639-1937. It's free, and it might save you a lot of stress. All right, now let's get back to it. And here's what's frustrating. A lot of people didn't even know there was an overpayment until their check was already reduced. There's no payment plan offered up front, no phone call, just less money in your bank account, and a letter that shows up later explaining why. Now, during the Biden administration, they had a rule that capped the clawback rate at 10%. That gave people some breathing room. But now, the Trump administration is raising it to 50%. And originally, they even considered going back to 100%, which would have meant taking the full check. Thankfully, they walked that back, but 50% is still a lot. Type same in the comments if this has ever happened to you or someone close to you. You're definitely not alone. So, what can you do if this is happening to you or you're worried it might? Let's go back to student loans for a second. If you're in default, the best thing to do is to reach out to your loan servicer. I know that might feel overwhelming or confusing, but it's better to do it sooner than later. You can ask about programs like income-driven repayment, which might lower your monthly payment to something more manageable, even down to zero, depending on your income. You can also ask about deferment or forbearance, or even loan consolidation. That can help pull your loan out of default and stop the garnishment from happening altogether. But again, the clock is ticking. Once that offset starts, it's much harder to stop. Now, if you're dealing with a Social Security overpayment, it's a little trickier. The first thing you can do is request a waiver. That's basically asking the SSA to forgive the debt, either because it wasn't your fault or because paying it back would cause you hardship. You can also file an appeal if you think the overpayment is wrong. But here's the thing, it's not a quick fix. These processes take time, paperwork, and patience. And in the meantime, the garnishment might still happen. That's why I always say, check your mail, check your online SSA account, and stay ahead of any notices. Another thing to consider is how this affects your long-term planning. If you're approaching retirement and haven't claimed your benefits yet, it might be worth double-checking your records now. Fixing any issues before you start collecting is way easier than dealing with garnishments down the road. And hey, if this has happened to you before, if you've had to fight a garnishment, file an appeal, or just struggled to get answers, please share in the comments. Your story could help someone else understand they're not alone and maybe even point them in the right direction. What's more, this whole situation highlights a bigger issue with how we manage Social Security and student debt in this country. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They're real people, real lives. And when systems break or shift too quickly, people can get left behind. So, what does this mean for you right now? If you're on Social Security and you've ever had a student loan, check your loan status. Even if you think it's been paid off or forgiven, it doesn't hurt to double check. And if you've ever gotten a notice from the SSA that didn't quite make sense, don't ignore it. You might also want to talk to your family. Sometimes these notices go to old addresses or get lost in the shuffle. And if you're helping a parent or grandparent manage their finances, it's a good idea to sit down and look at their benefits summary with them. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I know this stuff isn't always easy to hear, but understanding it puts the power back in your hands. If this helped you, or if you've got thoughts or questions, drop a comment down below. I read everyone, and if you want to stay ahead of what's coming next, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I've got more updates, tips, and breakdowns coming your way, so you won't want to miss them.